Let us talk about how the Hoya Linearis just might be the easy care Hoya you need. I'm doing this series called Hoya Hangouts where I sit down with a Hoya. Today is the Hoya Linearis and I go over my experience with it and my care routine. This is the second episode in the series. I will link my first one somewhere up here. I plan to eventually go through all of my Hoyas as they grow up, that you will get to know every one of them. I love this plant. It is very different from all the other Hoyas you have met with the thick, waxy leaves. This one is very delicate and graceful with the way it falls like a waterfall. It is very beautiful. One of my favorite Hoyas that I have. I have heard a few people say that this plant is finicky for them. I've not had this experience with mine. I purchased mine as like a 2-node cutting 2 years ago, and it's grown quite a lot since then. Keep in mind that I've pruned this plant 3 times and given away propagations, and I have done the Kegi cloning paste on it on unactivated nodes, and it's actually activated a few of the nodes. This stem alone, there's 5 vines. There's this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. That's a win for the Kegi cloning paste. Back then I tried it 2 years ago. I have not tried it again. I don't know if the Kegi cloning paste expires, so I still have it. I just haven't really done anything with it since then, and I don't think I need to because it's growing beautifully. It propagates very well in water. I have done it in perlite. If you don't keep up with watering, it's not going to grow any roots. So that's why I like water propagations for this. As soon as I see roots, I do stick it into the pot. I have put cuttings back into this pot from what I was not giving away, and it's grown a little bit more fuller as a result of that too. This plant naturally grows downwards, making it very easy to make it a trailing plant versus a plant you put on a trellis. I have not put this plant on a trellis, nor would I want to. I actually have seen some people on Instagram trellis the Hoya Linearis. I'm not sure if that looks appealing to me, but I love it trailing. So when I got this plant 2 years ago, back then it was very hard to find it. I don't know if that was the case for you guys, but I searched, and you guys know I shop on Etsy. I could not find it, and when I did find it, it was very unreasonably priced. And then 2 years ago, I was still searching Etsy, and I found cuttings for it at a reasonable price, so that's how I got it. And even back then, it was still so hard to find it. I think it's a lot easier now to get the Hoya Linearis. I have not seen it in any big box store. Now, for us, big box stores here in the Midwest, they don't have a lot of unique plants. We didn't even have the Doc Block Michelle, but the Midwest don't really have a lot of unique plants. I will see if I can add some footage of what it looked like before, but it's grown quite a bit. Now, I think this one of the other secrets to growing this plant healthy and growing really well is pruning, which as I mentioned earlier. And I actually think pruning is a secret to having your houseplants healthy. Maybe I'll do a video on that, but I really do enjoy pruning my plants, and as a result from pruning, it grows even better. And then when you prune your plant, you can either sell the cuttings or give it to someone else. And when you give a plant to someone else, they become your lifelong plant friend, which is one of my favorite things. The origin of this plant is native to the Himalayan mountains, India, Nepal, and Bhutan. And that is an indication that this plant is a cooler loving Hoya. So since it's already at a higher altitude, it can withstand cooler night temperatures, heavy rain, and higher humidity. A few months ago, I did pot this plant into a different soil mix. So I had it in a chunky soil mix, but I'm not sure the plant did not, you can, like when you grow this plant, you will get to know when it's not happy because there's a certain way it droops and you can tell that it's not doing well. So I was noticing that, and I ended up potting the pot to check the roots to see if there was root rot. There was no root rot. I went ahead and changed the soil on this plant into a more aerated mix with quite a bit of orchid bark. Let's take it out so you can see the soil. So this is my soil mix. It's very, very aerated. There's a lot of perlite in there, a lot of orchid bark as well, even inside the pot. I do have to have it in a heavier pot because it's top heavy. So one of the trade-offs of having an aerated mix is that you have to water more often. And because I know that and I'm an underwaterer, I do make it a point to look at the plant roots quite often. And it's easier for me because it's in a clear pot. I can tell if the roots are dry or fully hydrated. So it's quite easy for me to water this plant. Blooms are the one thing that I have not had on this plant yet. And I'm kind of shocked about that. I'm kind of sad. I did a Hoya experiment where I limited the light on this plant, where I gave it 12 hours of darkness. And sure enough, it was growing peduncles, but it dropped all of them. I think it grew like 9, and then it eventually dropped all the peduncles. But I have new peduncles forming again. As the temperature drops, it's going to continue to grow. So I'm hoping to get blooms this year. I hope so. If you have had blooms on this plant, I need all the details. I have read online that the blooms smell lemony. That is to be determined because everyone
Sniff is different on Hoyas. It could smell good, it could smell bad.
We'll see. I'll let you know when I do get blooms what it smells like. For light, mine sits under a grow light right there. It gets 12 hours of grow light on the side right here and then on top. I would not recommend giving the plant more than 12 hours of light if you want to get blooms. A lot of plants bloom when there's equal amounts of light and darkness. For watering, I don't like letting this plant dry out fully. I will not do that. And it's hard to tell with the leaves, but it's easy to tell when you have a clear pot to check for watering. I don't let it dry out. So that's the only thing about watering I will say. I know I've read where people say this plant likes to dry out more often. A lot of people say this plant like it moist. I think that has a lot to do with your growing environment more than anything else. For me, this plant does not like to dry out. For humidity, I don't have a humidifier in this plant room, but our humidity temperatures stay from at 40% to 60% during the normal course of the day. Right now, it is 68%. It rained a few days ago, and that's one of the things. Once there's a rainfall for the next few days, we usually have higher humidity in this house. We actually need to get a dehumidifier for this house because the humidity is so high. If I was growing this plant in Florida, it would appreciate that humidity, not the temperature, because Florida tends to stay hot. And I say Florida because that is exactly where I'm from. I moved from Florida to Indiana. January and February here in the plant room, the humidity is about 20 to 30%. It's very dry, and most of my plants in here go through a dormancy period, and I'm totally okay with that. I will say during the dormancy period is when you have to really watch for pests. I've not had any pests on this plant. I know that it is a mealybug magnet, as most Hoyas are. I have not seen any, and if I did have pest on here, I would dunk it in some kind of solution. One of the things I do for pest prevention, I do use a systemic in my watering. I've just not had any pest on this one. I've had spider mites on other plants. That's one of the things I struggle with the most. Growth habit of this plant, it is fast. It's a fast grower. When I repotted this plant into a more chunky mix, this are all the new shoots that started growing. Very nice. Love it. Faster than most Hoyas that I have. Say when I first got the plant, I wasn't expecting a lot of growth. I know that I can continue to chop and put it in the pot and get a much fuller plant. Maybe next year I'll do that. I don't mind having more of this plant actually around the house since it's just so beautiful. Now that the Hoya Linearis is a lot easier to find in the US, I would encourage you to get your hands on it because it is a rewarding Hoya that's just so unique and different. If you've grown a Hoya Linearis, I love to hear your experience with it. And if you've had blooms, please, I need all the details. I am excited to share that I just launched a Patreon account, a new way to support the channel. I'll be posting some behind the scene updates, extra videos, live chats for plant lovers and plant creator. If you are a YouTube creator, there's perks for that as well. If you'd like to be a part of that, I would love for you to join the community, no pressure. I will have the link below if you want to check out the Patreon account. Thank you so much for coming to the Hoya Hangout with my Hoya Linearis. Enjoy the rest of your day and don't forget you are loved. You are loved. I don't know. All right, goodbye.
Peace out.